welcome to the Old Goalies podcast, brought to you by White Glove Goalkeeping. New music for the Old Goalies is provided by Stream Beats. Listen on Spotify. Old Goalies is not intended for goalkeepers under the age of 17. Thanks again for listening to the Old Goalies with your hosts, Greg Deutsch, Pat Johnston, and Eric Vaughter.
All right, well, welcome in, ladies and gentlemen, to another episode of Old Goalies. This is kind of a new format we're trying tonight. We're going to call it Old Goalies Foursquare, and the four panelists are going to discuss what's going on in the world of soccer in the United States and elsewhere. And we're only going to be on for an hour. So we're setting the timer. We're going to go through all of the topics that Ryan has prepared for us. Hopefully we'll get through all the topics that Ryan's prepared
No
for.
chance we get through all of them.
Yeah, I know. You did make a Ryan sent a scroll, not an email. So
that's how it works.
Yeah. So anyway, we're gonna get through. Ryan, you're gonna be the timer and make the call on the topics, and then we'll jump off in an hour. But before we start, I'd like to introduce everybody. You guys all know who Ryan is. Ryan Sparks is our producer, and really he's kind of our head coach. And we follow his instructions to the T.
I'm in goal.
Pat Johnson from White Gloves Goalkeeping is in goal, and evidently coming off a stellar performance at the Duke alumni versus reserve game.
Man of the match. I was
man of the match where he made the first 10 minutes he made 5 saves, tipped one wide with his left hand, and who was the pitcher that walked off in the middle of a game and retired? The guy from Philadelphia, John Kruk. So anyway, pulled a John Kruk and just said, "I'm out of here," and I'm sure that later on in some of our episodes we'll be able to see that. And then, of course, Greg Deutsch, owner of Soccer Village in Cincinnati, and usually Greg is the interviewer in these episodes, but tonight we're all going to just discuss what's going on. It's not like there's nothing. It's not like there's no soccer news. We just hired a new national team coach, and so a lot of people have heard of this guy, and he's, I guess he's pretty good. So we'll get into a bunch of stuff. But what are we starting off with, Ryan?
I guess he's pretty good. That's a good way to start that conversation.
Okay.
So how's life, guys? That's where we're at. We're starting with let's talk a little bit about what are we doing soccer wise? What's going on with you guys?
We only have an hour, right?
I know, but that's what I mean. Literally, here's the thing: a lot of people that listen to the show and watch the show, they know of you, or maybe they don't, right? So, I know Greg sends his text messages out to a bunch of people, and some people tell him to cut it out. But I'm not going to call that goalkeeper out that sent that. It was only one person. We'll eventually call him out because I'll get there. But it'd be good for our watchers and our listeners to kind of hear who you guys are and what you're doing.
Let's start with EV. Let's go age before beauty on this, guys.
Let's go old guys first. I'm EV, which stands for Eric Vaughter. I'm the oldest of the three goalkeepers three goalies by a long shot, and right now in soccer, I'm doing absolutely fuck all, and enjoying every minute of it.
Yeah,
I don't have to deal with coaches that don't know anything about goalkeeping. I don't have to deal with parents that don't know anything about parenting. I don't have to deal with club officials that don't know anything about running a business. So you know what? I'm a camper, as Ken Chartier used to say. Put your hand over your heart. All right.
Cheers.
All right. Well, I mean, that does put it out there, but historically, EV, you've obviously got experience. So can you give a little bit of your background, just a quick snapshot of it?
Yes. I coached for 44 years. I coached goalkeepers. Actually two of whom are on this podcast. Pat Johnson and Greg Deutsch with the old AISA, right, Bo? And basically have basically have been fortunate enough to coached a lot of goalkeepers over the 44 years, coached at a bunch of colleges, coached some pros. Actually did one stint with the national team for the women, which, by the way, we lost both games, so I got fired from that. But yeah, it was fun. I felt like at the end of my 44 years that it was time for the youngsters to take over, and I have not looked back since.
So, Evie, I got a question for you on this national team with the women.
Yes.
Since that you had, did you have experience coaching women keepers before that? And if
Only
so,
in college. Only in college.
college?
Here's the crazy thing about that. April Heinrichs was the coach. I was brought in. This was right after or right during Hank's. Hank was running U.S. Soccer, and this was during Hank's. They were going through a contract fight, and I think Hank suggested, in quotes, that April hire me for the week. And so, of course, the girls didn't want anything to do with me because I was Hank's boy. And the crazy thing was, I never got to train anybody. We never had one training session. Because we played 2 games in 5 days. We played Norway twice, and I was just there. So I mean, but it was the 99ers.
What year?
Girls who just won the World Cup, and
Okay.
And it was cool. And I mean, I it's nice to say you're on the national staff, but I don't know if it's feasible that you're on the national staff. You don't do anything, because I didn't do anything.
And what year was that, Evie?
I have no idea.
Okay.
Well, that's
I
know, I'm asking
they won
rough
the World
questions.
Cup in '99, so it would have been 2000.
2000?
Yeah. So
Okay.
That's our guess.
Well, yeah.
Well, I mean, that's a fair guess. Does it sound like July of 2000? Sound like a good time frame there?
No, this was January. This was January of 2000, because this was after Christmas and all that stuff.
Okay.
So it was their first camp, and I don't really know other than having 2 games. It was down in Florida. We played one at Lockhart Stadium and one at one of the local colleges there. And I don't know what the purpose of the camp was, other than just to get people together and see who was available. But it was April's first go. It was her first time as the national team coach, and they were preparing for the Olympics in Sydney, Australia. That's all I remember.
Look, Evie's being humble in a sense. If he went through his tree of goalkeepers that he trained, it would just be up there with any mentor. So anyway, but yeah.
If you had a goalkeeper, I probably coached him.
Yeah, I mean, I broke him in, Ryan, really, when it came down to it. But no, Evie's got quite the tree.
Right.
Ryan, I think you should hear what Evie used to do, because he used to do the specialized goalkeeper camp from his house. Yeah. Have you heard this story, Ryan?
I don't think so.
All right, Evie, here you go.
Okay, so we did the sort of the normal goalkeeper camp where you had 50 or 60, 70 goalkeepers would come into camp and do that, and we had one couple at Warren Wilson, one at Guilford. Pat and Greg were both there on staff, and it was good. But then Marcia had this idea that, okay, why don't we just have 6 or 7 guys come live with us for a week, and the camp would be like 10 days, right? The kids would live with us. Marcia would cook all the meals. We'd train 4 times a day, and we'll charge them out the ass. And we did that. and it made a lot of money, and it was a lot easier than having 50 or 60, 70 kids, right? And the thing that we did was, the boys were responsible for cleaning dishes. Not all the time, but we had various assignments for
life skills.
You got to clean the dishes. 3 of you have to take care of everybody's laundry. 3 of you have to take care of all the water and the balls and all the stuff for training and all that kind of stuff. And then we did stuff like over the course of the day, you have to volley back and forth with your partner 750 catches or whatever whatever it was, whatever the number was. And it was kind of an immersion camp, but obviously with Martian cooking, it was great food. And come to find out that what the guys remember the most about it was the meals, was sitting down to a family style dinner. And of course, picking fun at each other over the, from whatever they did that day or didn't do that day. And to the point where, we had 6 or 7 guys that came back all the time, and we called them our third sons. And it was a lot of fun.
Evie, tell Ryan like what the food bill was. I mean,
oh yeah, the food
was
bill
crazy.
In fact, the food bill was like $1,200 every 2 days or something. It was crazy.
Because today would be like 3 times or 4 times that much, right?
Oh yeah, exactly. Yeah. yeah.
That's crazy.
So, yeah,
that's a cool story though. I mean, I'm sure those guys
like Pat said, he's being humble. So Evie, share with us some of the guys who stayed there.
Oh well, we had guys like Will Hesmer, who played for Columbus. We had guys like Troy Perkins, who played for a number of teams, actually played over in Norway for a couple of years. Johnny Bush was there. He was a counselor. He wasn't a camper. What else do we have? I don't know. We had Raber was there. We had Whitney Gibson, who played at Penn State. We just had a bunch of guys that came in and went on and played pros at some level. I think all of them went on and played pros at some level, except maybe Whitney became a lawyer. But
did Raber go on and play pro?
Raber had a tryout with the Chicago Fire shortly after he broke his thumb. They liked him enough that they invited him back, but he decided to be a policeman and turned down their preseason invitation.
Raber, I just want to go on record publicly, and I didn't mean to offend Raber when the Rangers kicked Carolina's ass. It was not my intent to upset him.
He gets fired up about the Carolina.
My apologies, Raber.
He gets fired up about the Carolina Hurricanes.
So there you have it. I was
yeah.
Not that I was wrong, but it wasn't my intent.
That's good.
Oh yeah, that's you asked earlier what's going on in our world. That's the great thing about today is that the NHL camps started today for the 24-25 season. So
I'm just glad that I have somebody in the group chat that I'm with that I can say Bobby, and they know exactly what I'm talking about when I send it. That's exciting to me.
Oh, the Gordy thing?
Yeah, Gordy.
The
Gordy.
Yeah,
like most people don't like. I would say most people that I know don't know Slapshot.
Yeah,
like as a flick.
Well,
it's like Gordy. Like,
Gordy. That was actually Slapshot was required movie the first night of those camps that Greg's talking about, because back then I was like, fellas, this is what you're killing yourself for. You're killing yourself to be a minor league professional and ride the bus all night, and which is fine. It's
and
great.
Just want to know who owned the Chiefs.
Yeah, just know what you're getting into here.
Owns.
So every camp would start off with Slapshot. So
Evie's our resident Reg Dunlap is what I'm hearing.
And the greatest quote I think maybe in all of sports is, "I speak 2 languages fluently, English and profanity."
Yeah.
And Gordie Howe said that. I thought that's a great quote.
That is.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah,
all right.
I mean,
So enough
no, that's
about
good. This is,
teenagers.
hey, I know we're on a limited time tonight,
Yeah,
but
we
like,
are.
this is good. This is good. We can always push some of the other stuff we were talking about. No, I love hearing their stories, and I know like our listeners and watchers are interested in kind of some of that stuff that we're talking about. So, Pat, what about you? Let's go with you, and then I'll go to Greg. I know what
I
Greg.
just want to
It's
make
hard
sure
for me to
everyone
have a
realizes.
conversation about what Greg does. I know what Greg's doing.
I want everyone to realize that Greg is older. So
Yeah,
Oh,
yeah.
come on. Jeez.
Man.
Gee.
Good.
honestly, I don't know if you are or by how much, but anyway, so um yeah, I'm doing a ton.
Yeah.
This is actually a joke I made. I wear 6 different sets of uniforms right now in my life with the things I'm doing. I coach goalkeepers at 3 different clubs in the area I live in, which is Port St. Lucie, Florida. Um, I For a 4th club, I act as a college guidance counselor for that club. It's a large club. And then I do a ton of work for an ID camp company called Exact Sports and spend a lot of time doing things for them. And then finally, there's this little project I have going on called White Glove Goalkeeping. And so between the 6 of them, I have laundry so that every weekend, man, I got a full load to clean. Um, primarily, my love is obviously the position. I strayed for a long time and became one of those guys like I'm going to be a head coach, blah blah blah, and I did, and I got great joy in it. But then I stepped away from the college game right before COVID, and then just like Ev said, I went into the club game when I moved back to Florida. I was living in Tennessee when I was coaching in college, and when I got into the club game, the parents absolutely drove me nuts. It was remarkable how much I didn't know and how much they did. And now, now that, now that, now that I'm 60 years
Clip too.
I am 60 years old. I want to go on record and say this. I have been at 4 different clubs where I've come in and I have said, and as Evie knows, I'm not like the most tactful person when I go in. It's just what you see is what you get kind of thing. And I said, this is what we need to do. This is why, boom, boom, boom. And of course, there was that polarization of this guy's a fucking asshole, right? Doesn't know what he's talking about, boom, boom, boom. But without fail, and it has happened in my latest gig here in Florida where they have come back to me and said, you know what? You were right. It's amazing how
And
that
you were
works.
like, and
No,
like
I
I
mean,
knew I was like,
yeah,
thank
yeah.
you,
I mean,
but-
I always said that back then anyway, so I didn't need to keep. No, I'm just kidding. But it's just a remarkable thing to see. You're trying to do what's best for the kids, and the resistance you get. And I'll leave it at this in terms of that topic. So my final meeting as a head coach for a club soccer team was this. I was supposed to share duties with another coach where I was coaching a group of 40 and I would select the first team. He would take the other team. It was a much younger guy cutting his teeth. And so about 6 weeks to 2 months into this experiment, they said, no, we just got to declare teams. The parents can't take it, blah, blah, blah. So at the end of the season meeting, my fellow coach who's supposed to have my back goes, well, once we knew what our teams were, I was able to put them together and put together a great season, blah, blah, blah. And then it came my turn. And I said, listen, guys, here's the problem. I didn't look at my team or his team or this team or that team. I had 40 players. And with those 40 players, I was looking to make all 40 of them better to prepare them to play at the next level. I never thought about my team or his team. And therein, folks, lies the conflict. you can't do this and this at the same time. So anyway, so when that happened, I kind of stepped away and didn't know what I was going to do for a while. Greg was one of my biggest benefactors in saying, hey, try this, try that. We got this, we got that. But ultimately, I just went back to what I loved, and that was I'm going to train goalkeepers, and I'm going to set up a goalkeeper school, and I'm going to do these things with goalkeepers. And I got to tell you, man, it's going really, really well.
That's
it's going.
Awesome.
I'm loving life.
Yeah.
I get.
I'm really happy for you because I'm going through some of that club stuff now. So, it's funny you said that Greg was one of the people that you go to talk about it, because I feel like I lean on Greg a lot with that stuff, like just bouncing ideas off to make sure, like, am I thinking this through? Is this the right way? And even when I get the feedback that like, yeah, you're doing it the right way, your heart's in the right place. At the end of the day, there's still days when I'm coaching that I'm like, it doesn't feel right. Like just because of the reaction you're getting about certain things. Like I'm super development focused. Like I will lose a game to teach a lesson.
Yeah. Oh no.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, in that I get that. That's kind of the feedback I get at times. Like, well, why did we we were tied? Why didn't we just play for the winner? Like try to keep the tie. Why did you put that kid in? I'm like, because every kid deserves to play at this level when we're trying to develop these kids. They're 9v9. Every 9v9 game is a scrimmage in my mind. Like every game should be that way.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, I talked to Greg a lot about it, because that's like you said, you can go through it. I mean, there are days when it's just like, oh.
What's the most gratifying is like, for instance, where I live now, I came into a club and the guy brought me in right away. It's the funniest, not the funniest thing, but the story is, I retired to South Florida and I was going to fish. That's it. I was going to fish and life, I'm doing okay in the market and all this. And 6 weeks in, I was like, oh my God, I got to do something here. There was just no gratification. And so I saw kids training. They were all wearing the same kits. I'm like, all right, there's a local club. I'm going to go up. I talked to the coach. And then the next day I get a call from the guy who runs the club. It's like, hey, let's sit down and talk. And so, obviously he went on Google or talked to somebody locally. But nonetheless, it was like that next season, he asked me to be the director of coaching. And, some of the resistance I got from the guys, and I'm sure you've all experienced this in terms of it's my team and who's this guy coming in. So, but now I'm at the point where I've had coaches from those initial that group of resistors who call me for advice, and it's like, that is the gratification right there of them coming around and seeing like, this guy may have been a son of a bitch and a motherfucker, but I like his message. And so it's been good in that sense. And, you got to stay the course and do what you think is right. Okay. And then you try. So here's the kicker, right? The solution is you got to communicate it, right? You got to communicate to the parents, blah, blah, blah. Well, you know what? Half of those sons of bitches, they don't even want to. They'll sit there and nod their head and say, yeah, this sounds great, until all of a sudden their kid's the one on the bench that weekend because you're sticking to your principles and your philosophies. And now you are the fucking devil's advocate, And so it's like, you can't win because people are on your side as long as you're saying what they want to hear. But the moment you cross that line and it's like, this isn't in the best interest of my kid, then all of a sudden you're the villain, Obviously,
the parents
like hours about this. So
right,
I'm going
right.
to surrender the floor and send it on.
We could do a whole show on that, but you're right.
No, I'd like to ask you this: of the 3 clubs that you're working with, how would you rank that? How would you rank them on the topic you just you were attacking about the parents? Like, is one club just incredible, or are they all 3 really just a lot of issues that you just shared with us.
Well, here's the beauty of that is that okay, but I will answer your question, but I'm gonna go off on a tangent here first. Is if I have a problem with any parent in any of those clubs, I'm gone. I don't care, right? It's like if you want me to train your keepers, then you will tell this parent to back off because I'm in a good place where I can do that. So I haven't had that issue per se. But as I look at the three clubs, it's an interesting study in looking at them because one is still very much my team, my island, and EV, and actually Maven, you can appreciate this. I don't know if you've actually been a goalkeeper trainer for a club, Ryan, but I know EV's done it many times. So EV, how about those coaches that they won't send their keeper to keeper training because they got to be with their team because we got a big game this weekend kind of thing.
Yeah.
And so
guess whose keepers go to keeper training instead of team training?
Yeah.
Yours.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. And there's those, but so I have one club that's really stuck in that rut still. And I'm vocal about it. It's like your keeper's going to get better with me. They're not going to get better with you standing around. And if you think you can educate that keeper better than me, then you know what? Let him stay with you. Okay.
How many of the team trainings that you see, and then we'll bounce off and we'll talk about Greg, but how many of the team trainings that you see as you walk around the complex are you just seeing keepers standing around doing nothing?
Zero. Okay. This happens all the goddamn time. Right. And if you're watching, if you're the goalkeeper coach and you've got your goalkeepers and the coach from the clubs like Pat is, or from the teams like Pat is talking about, they want their goalkeepers with them because I'm a good enough coach that I can incorporate the goalkeeper into training. No, you're not. Okay. Because if you were, you'd be coaching in college. Okay. You wouldn't be coaching in club.
I know plenty of college coaches who don't know shit.
Exactly. And there's plenty of college coaches who, when you look across the field and they're incorporating their goalkeepers into training, the fucking goalkeepers are down doing pole dancing on the uprights while the team is doing possession.
I would lose my shit.
Yeah.
Like, so tonight, just as an example, tonight at my club, and some people that watch the show will know what club I'm talking about, and I'm fine with it. But at the club that I work at currently, the goalkeeper trainer was at my session because he wanted to see how the keepers get integrated into my sessions. We did some rondos. The keepers work with their feet, obviously, during those rondo sessions. We did some possession stuff, but we're working on the goalkeeper's footwork during those sessions, right? Like, that's the important piece for me. After they've already done their goalkeeper training, I need my goalkeepers. And it was funny because he said the same thing to the keepers as they're working. My goalkeepers need to have the best feet on the field out of everybody. Like, because we're trying to build out of the back. We're trying to use them more, like, we're trying to do things the right way. But like, if they have goalkeeper training, I'm sending them to goalkeeper training instead of having them in my session because I know that there's other things they can be working on. But I'm never have my goalkeepers just standing there doing nothing. Like, if they're not involved in some sort of drill, like with their footwork, or we're doing something, like they're having shots taken at them, because I don't want, like, otherwise they're bored to death. Like, I've seen it. Like, I've literally seen it. But like, I would love for my keepers to just be at goalkeeper training most of the time, and then I have them for maybe 30 minutes at the end.
Right. So listen, Ryan, I'm sorry to hijack you here, but I'm going to go on a topic here that I think all of us it'll totally engage this group. Is okay. So you're doing goalkeeper training with the club 1 or 2 nights a week. You're getting these big groups, and you're trying to be as effective and efficient as you can with these groups, right? And the disparity in levels, blah blah blah. Anyway,
huge difference between even in my age group, my goalkeepers are all in different places.
And you're trying to make sure that you create an environment where they're all improving, etc. And then you got these guys that won't even send their guys because they're going to do better. Okay. I'm gonna go on record without hesitation and say this is the hardest position in team sports. Playing goalkeeper requires such a diverse skill set in order to be a top level keeper. Okay. You got to be able to move like a tennis player. You got to be able to think like a football quarterback. You got to be able to play with your hands and move around like an NFL wide receiver, a catcher, just all the different skill sets that this involves. And if you're getting these kids 1 and 2 nights a week, it's still not sufficient for what this position needs. Goalkeepers need goalkeeper training 3 to 4 times a week on their own before they even go to the team sessions to become a top level keeper. I'm on record. There you have it. It's on my website. This is a special position.
Pat, so go back. So you said one club is in that meet. The other two, what are they in?
Okay, so there's one club I absolutely love the way they're doing things. What they do is at the beginning of every training session, they have the entire club warm up together from U9s to U18s. They have a warm-up setup. They're all together, and they create this feeling of it being a club, and we're all in the tent, okay? And when I say I need the keepers at this, and this is how I want to do it, without hesitation, they are like, you got it, okay? So yes, I mean, the fact that I get what I want, blah, 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 but they understand the importance of the position and what this training can do, okay? So there's that club. The third club is really not a club, it's an academy. And so there is a dedicated time slot where I am to go every day and work with these keepers personally, or, it's a small group. It's 3 to 4 keepers where I'm training these guys basically consistently every week because that's part of the curriculum. And they have that luxury because it's a full-time academy. It's called the Rush Premier Sports Academy. It's not a plug, but whatever. It's a good setup. And it's a version of what IMG is for the layman who's like, well, what is this place exactly? Because there are other full-time academies out there besides IMG. And so with the Rush, I get to, it's like, here's your time with them, coach, take them. So it's a real interesting juxtaposition of all the three to see how they operate, so it's, it keeps me busy. Let's put it that way.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's good.
Cool.
All right, Greg, it's
Wow.
your turn.
I'm under the clock, right? Holy crap.
Dude, we're at like 40 minutes. Like we got
time.
We got a little bit of time, but yeah, you got to cut it short because we know you're busy. No,
Yeah.
we know you got a lot of crap going on, but let's trim it down. No, we talk almost every day, you and I. So like, I know a lot of things that most of our listeners don't necessarily know, but kind of let's talk about what you've got going on right now.
I am
a whole lot of shit.
It's right now I'm not doing any training because of work. I'm one of the owners and founders of Soccer Village. So it's a very busy time for me. My day-to-day role is dealing with high schools, colleges, camps, and special opportunities. So because of that network, I also help kids get into college. And I also have a lot of connections throughout the industry and
the world
places. And I love helping people. And, as Pat alluded to, when he was going through some journeys up and down. And I would say even before that, I tried to, help Pat find, some other jobs. And I've given Evie some tips on things like that. And so, Evie used to be in the business, in case you guys didn't know that. So he was with a lot of different companies. but the last company was with is Royce, and so obviously Royce sponsors my camp. I've been doing my goalkeeper camp now for I just completed the 43rd year. It's a 10-night camp, which is pretty amazing. You know, I go to work and then the next 3 hours I get to train kids, and I thoroughly enjoy it.
Give the format on it though, Bowman, because it's very unique as far as being set up for. I mean, of course, you're in an area where high school soccer is pretty important, but it's set up for preseason of high school soccer, isn't it?
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, so last 2 weeks of July, so it's right before tryouts, a few days before that. So a lot of kids, want to get, tuned up, I would say.
It's the refresher course before they head out, and for some of them, it's the wake-up call.
Yeah, so, it's on turf, which in Cincinnati, the humidity is very, very hot. So you can imagine on some of the days it's extremely challenging to get these, kids to go through the motions. But like I said,
we had one day this year, your camp, it was like 104.
Yeah, just crazy. And what's it on the turf, right? 125.
I did that every day when I was a kid.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I mean now, like you look at it and you're like, all right, with the humidity, like the heat index 125, 126 on the turf, like and kids are still coming out, and like if Greg were to cancel, kids would be like, are you kidding me?
Yeah.
Like it's not even like the parents like, we should cancel, it's hot. The kids are like, no.
Yeah.
Like,
so
we gotta
I'm really involved in like things like that, and I think I was just recently named. They gave me an official title, a recruiting coordinator with Cincinnati United Premier on the girls' side. So, very excited about that.
That's good. Congrats.
Yeah.
Good thing it's the girls' side, because at least you can send them somewhere. It's the boys' side, you got no options. So.
Well,
now it's the trip, right?
And I think, and I think we all know the challenges coming up for Division I players with the 28 rosters.
Yep.
Our scholarship's going to get increased. The judge, as of today, is supposed to make a ruling at the end of the month. But when you talk to some college coaches in the Division I landscape, everything's on pause right now. And so as much as they want to go after 26 kids, they can't. They're telling kids in 25, sorry, but no thanks. And, it's very stressful for these young players right now. And my advice has been, expand your list. Get off your ego trip. And, if you really want to play, there is a school for you, but you got to really, really expand it. So
kids can't really be D1 or bust. Like the ones that tell me they're D1 or bust, I'm like,
which is too much. Greg, Brian, sorry to hijack again, but so with the club that I work with in Palm Beach, and I do this with them to, guidance counselor, I say the first thing you got to be is honest with yourself. Because if you're not, then basically every move and everything that happens after that is going to be flawed. And, it's and I like what you said about expanding your horizons. As because of Tony, we're going to get him on this show here soon enough. We're sending kids over to England now to play and do the college experience in England, So anyway, but you're dealing with only the girls, so at least you have that. The girls do have opportunities much more so than the boys.
Yeah, I'm dealing with a few guys just because they've been to my camp, but I think you're totally right. That's a whole different topic, right? Because of the internationals dominating that. It's going to be really interesting to see what schools step it up. From 14 on the girl side and 9.9, I think, on the guy side. And it's going to be really, I think, are the rich really going to get richer, right? The Ohio States and the Penn States. Yeah, go ahead, Pat.
No, quick comment there, because I have the luxury of Kyle being ingrained in a top flight, an ACC school and all of that. So So we're looking at, like Duke will probably add a couple few, they may go as many as up to 14 or 15, but it's not going to be just because there's 28 scholarships doesn't mean all of a sudden all these schools are going to have 28 scholarships. And again, we're talking on the boys' side. Okay. Clemson is a school that will apparently they're going to be able to do so. So, just some inside intel there. But I'm curious on the girls' side, are they going to be able to go to 28? So therefore, the men's rev sports now can up their scholarships. Is that Title IX equivalency going to still be involved?
Yes, I believe if whatever you do for the men, you have to do for the women. I've heard IU is going to be a 16 for both. I'm not, I'd have to get that totally confirmed, but
you're talking just sport, like single sport equivalent.
No, I'm saying for men's soccer and men's and women's soccer.
Right, single sport.
Right. I think it's going to be equivalency just because of how they're doing it. However, you're allowed to break up whatever you want with your money, right? Just like, nothing's happened. I think, the Clemson issue was great for Mike Noonan, right? Because they're just using NIL money.
Yeah.
Which credit to them.
Yeah.
So, I think it's, if you're a high school freshman, you're it's great right now, right? You get to see this unfold right in front of your eyes, and there's no stress. Same sort of if you're a sophomore, but boy, if you're a junior or a senior,
well,
just
we've talked about it. Like,
there
have been kids that have been sent packing that are current juniors. They're like, hey, this is your last year.
So here's the interesting thing on the NIL. So the players can enter the portal in a place they're perfectly happy and thriving, and then they're going to go somewhere where they're going to now pay them on top of them playing. So like you said, Greg, like not 5 minutes ago, the rich will get richer in this sense, and then everybody else is going to start, basically scrambling for scraps.
Yeah. And I find it interesting. I don't know if you guys are tuned into this, but because of the Big Ten, they're playing on Mondays, okay, and Fridays. Fridays and Mondays. Not Thursday and Sunday. Isn't that interesting? I find it really interesting.
Yeah.
Because that's people can come and attend, or make it the only show in town. Listen, I'm going to go on record here and say I see the NCAA top level Division I teams becoming like a super league that ends up having a television contract, and that's where it's going. It's going to be 20, 25, 30 teams, and they're going to get paid X amount of dollars by some kind of network to televise their games, and it's going to push the USL to become like the third tier, and that will become the second tier behind the MLS. It just seems to be the way it's going.
In men's?
Yes.
Wow. Okay. Is that inside scoop from your son, or?
There's a fella that I've been talking with. I'll give him credit. And if he says, no, you're wrong, you son of a bitch, that's not what I said. But a guy named Ryan Hogston, he runs what's called the Pre-College Development Academy. Free plug for you, Ryan. Okay. It's basically, he does a gap year here in the U.S. Okay. And this guy's a sharp cookie, and I definitely love hearing this guy talk. I tell you, he could sell ice to an Eskimo. He's that good. But when he talks about things that are in the future and coming down the pipe, the guy's been spot on for a couple of years now. And he talked about this idea of this super league and blah, blah, blah. I never really articulated it in the way that I just did, but it just seems to be, how else are they going to survive if they don't do that, And for whatever reason, we just lost Greg.
I'm right here, back in.
Okay.
Oh, you moved
Got him back.
All right.
My
Yeah,
hands are
this
free.
is a topic, dude. Guys, we could go on.
Exactly.
Yeah, this is something we could talk about for a while.
Yeah.
Okay, so here's a question for you, Greg. Okay, in your new position, I'm sure you've given this thought because you've been doing this unofficially for years, right? Particularly in the girls' game, the women's game, where let's be honest, parents are laying out big money to clubs because the opportunity of getting a scholarship, which rightfully, as Pat says, is correct. I mean, it's more prevalent in the women's game because there's more money than there is in the men's game because of Title IX. But how do you tell a kid who believes in, at Cup, who believes that she's a D1 player? I'm a D1 player, right?
Mm-hmm.
But how do you tell her, yeah, if you can be on a D1 team, you're probably not going to get much money, or you could play D2, or you could play D3. The question is, how much do you really want to play versus be on a team? How do you deal with
it's a very good question, and it's answered like this. And I think everyone will appreciate this. I punch them in the face with the following. I want you to look at the incoming freshmen that you're thinking of the school. And all these incoming freshmen usually are top, players, right? I think everyone would agree with that. And I want you to see how many games they played and how many minutes. And it's eye-opening.
Yeah.
And right there sums up a lot. I don't have to go through and explain sort of some of the variables that I think we all know, but they get punched in the face as a wake-up call, right? Oh my God! And she was, She played at ECNL or an academy. Right. Oh my God! I knew her, right? And she's not getting any minutes.
Yeah,
so it's a very, very easy conversation for me because those are facts. It takes out emotions, right? They can read, they can follow the player. And what's going to get worse, EV and Pat and Ryan, is think about it. All the conference games are starting to play right now this weekend, or as we speak, or maybe a game last week. If your kid hasn't played, right, unless barring injury, your kid's probably not going to get in the games.
Correct. Yeah.
Pat, I mean, you're a college coach, EV. I mean, would you guys sort of agree with that assessment?
Yeah, I kind of agree with that. One of the things that I and again, maybe it's because Greg, you and I played at a different era where the small schools were the only schools that had soccer. You didn't go to a big school. But was one of the things that I always appreciated about Pat's teams at Sewanee was those kids wanted to play. They wanted to play. And, were they Florida good, University of Florida good or Florida State good? No. But, it didn't make any difference to them. They wanted to play, for that 90 minutes. They didn't care. They want to play, and it was very refreshing for me, who has maybe been a little bit jaded about all these parents wanting scholarship money, et cetera, and dude, it's the fucking you played the game to play. You didn't play the game to see how much money you could get for your scholarship and sit the bench and bitch about the coach and go to the athletic director and try to get him or her fired. So it would be
Evie, I'm real familiar with the club that you finished with.
Yeah.
We're not going to indict anybody because they're not exclusive in this. But when you're charging kids $3,500, $2,000 a season, okay, you're selling the dream. You're selling, we're going to make your kid good enough to go blah, blah, blah.
Right.
So therefore, when you're able to build a bridge for this kid to be the 32nd player on Auburn on the girls' side, okay, then you've delivered. Okay. Of course, the truth of the matter is you get that kid and you push them into Auburn and they're there. The moment that kid's there, what is that club doing? They're fucking yanking that bridge away so fast because it doesn't look good if you say, oh, your kid went to Sewanee, the University of the South. Okay. right? But at Swanee University of the South, you might be an all-conference player.
Yeah, you're
You
playing.
know,
Yeah.
but that doesn't fit the narrative of charging kids, thousand parents, families, thousand of this top level coaching, blah blah blah. So
Yeah.
Greg,
I
what
would
do
say this,
you,
because a lot of people, like Ryan says on the show, who watch and listen don't know, I'm a part-time, in my own mind, stand-up comedian, and I haven't done it in a little while. But Evie's heard me. He heard me live in Chicago.
tell me some dirty jokes?
Dude, he was
They would
going
get they would get bleeped out. But where I'm going with this is
Yeah,
sarcastically. I say
look,
this to a lot of.
I don't want to edit that, so let's not.
Yeah. A lot of times, you guys will like this. I say to the player, and a lot of times when I'm talking to the players, I like their parents to be on the phone. Okay. Just to make sure the interpretation is heard correct, right? It's not
That makes sense.
missed. And I'll say, 7 years from now or 6 years from now, when you're done and you're graduated, you're going to remember you playing, the memories, and you want to compete for a conference championship. And if you go to a D1 school that finishes 2-10 every year, you're never going to get there. So like you just said, Evie, you want to remember playing. So you want to go somewhere where you compete and then get into the tournament and hopefully get in the NCAA tournament, whether it's D1, D2, D3. It doesn't matter. It's going to be a fantastic memory. And I say, when you're done and, your first 2 years, you're out of college and you're with your friends and there's some guy you hook up with, you meet, I don't think he's going to say, hey, I only date D1 players. I don't think that's going to happen. If I just don't think so.
Yeah.
So, of course, people laugh about it, but I think, Pat, like you say, you just got to, I've said it, you're saying it, it's just common sense. It's an ego thing. Get off your horse and expand, because those are where the opportunities are. I mean, let's remember the portal in December is going to be crazy.
Oh, yeah.
Right? These college coaches are just, it's going to be a candy store with
all these power
four kids who are getting cut. They're going to be going in the portal. And I'm telling you, some college coaches have told me they're already getting texts from kids who are telling them, I'm leaving.
Yeah.
And now I don't know where the rules are, to be, honest, are they crossing boundaries or not? But nevertheless, as we look for December, how crazy is that portal? Because what's going to happen is those players are going to go in there and it's just going to be a domino effect, right?
Sure.
Power four, then mid majors and really bad programs, and, on and on.
Yeah.
Two things there is the inside intel is Anson left you. He retired because he took the Nick Saban route. Like this is a whole different animal.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Because the intel was 20 players from that UNC team from 2023, 2024 went into the transfer portal.
Woo.
20 players put their names in there. So there's that. Then,
like as a recruiter, it's like shooting fish in a barrel. There's going to be so many. You're like, all right, I can just have my pick and try to bring them in. And how many of the kids are really taking a look at like they have my major at that school? I know Greg. I know the kids that Greg's is working with are.
Yeah,
I know they are.
Pat, go ahead. Number two.
So number two is the here. This is something I get when the high school age girls and boys, for that matter, it doesn't matter, are talking about, oh, I want to go play at Clemson, I want to go play at UNC, blah blah blah. And I say, okay, well, who's writing you right now? Crickets, right?
Yeah.
Or here's the defense mechanism that kicks in for these kids in these families. Oh, so-and-so's writing me, so-and-so's writing me, so-and-so's writing me, and they're naming, NC State, Virginia, right? But then my next question is, well, is that a solicitation for a camp, or are they really writing you? And it, obviously 95% of the time it's like, hey, come to my camp.
Right.
And then so they latch on to this false narrative of Virginia wants my kid. They're writing me. They want her to come to camp. They want him to come to camp. And it's like, so what I advise is, okay, well, write them and ask them, why do they want you to come to the camp?
Right.
They never get answered. These people never get answered once they write that.
Yeah.
You know? And so it's just an interesting thing in that everybody wants to, not everybody, I'm sorry, but too many people want to hang on to this illusion or this perception, and they know that's all it is. And it's just mind-boggling. Like, come on, man, face the reality of the situation. So
one out of every 57 athletes is the magic number that go on to play D1 sports from high school. 1 out of every 57.
Okay. Yeah.
D1, right? Is that what you said?
D1. Yeah. And then from there, the actual percentage, like at any level, is about 7%. 1 in 13 go on to play some varsity sport in college from D1, D2, D3, NAIA.
Yeah.
You know, the trickle effect down. But
look at the
it's still
soccer.
a very.
Look at the men's soccer.
Yeah.
It's not 1 out of 57 because basically the foreign invasion.
Yeah.
37% of men's soccer players in 2022 were from somewhere other than the United States.
I mean, you know, we're talking about, you know, both the men and women, and I totally agree with you, Pat, as far as the international invasion. What is your advice to a guy? I mean, I'm telling the guys, you know, you heard me, you got to expand your list. Okay, you might even have to go, say, D2, right? There's nothing wrong with D2. There's a lot of great programs out there. We all know that. And it might be a better fit, by the way, and you might play rather than sit. What's your take on that?
No, I'm shaking my head because when you say D2, D2 is probably even worse than D1 in terms of foreigners. D2 is a much looser set of rules. So here's a fact. Look this up, Ryan, if you would validate this, is the team that won the Division II national championship last year, the average age of the player on that team was 25 years old. Okay? So how are you going to come in as a true freshman in D2? To me, D2 is just as rough or even a harder path than D1 in a lot of ways. Okay. So the advice I give to answer your question is this start looking at D3s because that is going to be your best route. There are more D3 programs than there are D1 and D2 combined. Okay. So there's going to be more opportunities there. Okay. Now, even then, with the amount of players that are coming out that want to play, there is still not enough roster spots in the D3 to accommodate the kids coming out. Now, you take into account what's going on and with the NCAA changing the roster size of the D1 programs to 28 players, and the typical D1 program has got anywhere from 32 to 40 players. Where are these 4 to 12 players from every program going to go? What are they going to do? Okay. So right now, especially, it's a tough time. So this is where the International Academy comes into play. It's like, here's what you're thinking. Okay. Here's what you're thinking as a kid. I want to play soccer beyond high school. I don't want it to be done. So most kids are either going to end up playing for a club team in college, or they're not going to play at all if they stay in the U.S. and are stuck in the conventional mindset of, I got to play in the NCAA. But there are schools in England, there are schools in Spain where you can go and get a viable education and you can play 10 months out of the year, train like a professional, and get more soccer than you ever bargained for. And at the same time, you're going to play in matches because that's what they're all about. There's so many different teams where they can farm players out and bring them back. And there's not this proprietary component to it where you can only play for Bradley University. You can only play for Duke University. So these kids are going to be able to live the dream of going and playing beyond high school and being challenged and being trained, but unfortunately the clubs can't sell that particular narrative because that's not going to fit what we're charging you for. Okay, so that's what I'm trying to do when I talk to people is create that paradigm shift in terms of your mentality of where you're going to play beyond high school, because there are options out there. If you want to play, I got a place for you to play where you will be challenged and you will love it. Okay, but it just might not be in the United States of America.
So, Pat, this leads to a great
Got me
question.
going, man. You got me
It's all
going.
right. It's okay, Pat. Where's the inner fight of go get the American education, as you say, stay in that square box versus I'm going to let my kid go do this? Like, holy cow. Number two, you mentioned D3. I think what you may have failed to say at the same time, and you certainly coached at a Solania Division III school, the price, right? Not all these kids can afford, 80K, 70K, even with 20,000 given to them for whatever reason, right? So that would lead into the NAI, which is almost reversed right back to D2 as far as the international. So, American kids, it's very hard if you're a guy to go play in college. And I think you got to be a much better teammate because of it.
Indeed. The resistance is just because it's non-conventional thinking right now. It's not really the path that's traveled as much. The interesting thing about this is, so the whole concept of a gap year was like, we're going to send you over to Europe. You're going to train like a professional, and you're going to come back now and play in the NCAA, because now you're going to see why the coaches are embracing this foreign invasion, because these kids are coming in, they're more technical, blah, 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 because of all the training. So now you're going to go do that. It's not uncommon for a kid to go over for the gap year experience and they say, I don't want to come back. And they end up staying and completing their degree and doing all the playing in Europe. And that's where I realized it's just getting them to understand there are other options. And once you go and see that option, most of the time, these kids love it and they just stay at it, And the interesting thing about sending them to Spain or England, there's many interesting things, forgive me, but the thing that ends up becoming really obvious is because of the NCAA rules and the stipulations and the restrictions, okay, they're not playing near as much in a college program here as they are over there training with those academies and playing in those schools. And then the final point here, Greg, is you talked about the cost of it. Okay. All of these foreign programs that I'm talking about, sending these kids over, the average price there to get a year of education and to play at that capacity is less than 40 grand. That's about 50% less than the cost. The average price here is probably 60, 70 grand to send a kid to college, So, again, I could go on. I'm very passionate about this. This is something that I'm working hard to just make people aware that there are opportunities beyond the conventional NCAA or bust mentality.
So there you go, Greg. Now you have a whole new spectrum to send some of your players to.
Yeah.
Well, this is boys. The girls.
No, Pat, I totally understand that. Yeah.
No.
Yeah.
No, it's as far as developing as a player, and particularly as far as developing as a goalkeeper. Pat's model is much better.
Of course, absolutely.
Because you're playing 40 games a year.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And
I think the biggest thing is, how would you? Well, first, I agree with Pat. The biggest thing is that barrier, right? It's unconventional, and that's huge.
Yeah, it is.
That is just humongous. I'm going to send my kid away. The kid's going to be away. How do I know their education's any good? All these questions, I'm sure.
Family says,
answer,
players want to go
but
through it,
I'm
right?
sure he's got to go through that when he, gets into it, if that parent or that family is very interested.
Like if
Yeah,
if those
I mean,
players
I have the luxury again. I mentioned Tony Robinson earlier, but Tony vets these programs over there. He makes sure who's the charlatans and who's legit and all of that. So I
No,
have that
have him on.
luxury.
Yeah, I'm excited to have him on. I mean,
It's Greg. You had referred a kid to me, and I forget the name, et cetera. No insult on the young man at all, because it was a brief conversation. He had called me and said, "Yeah, I want to try it."
Colin, I know Colin.
Okay, and I said, listen, because I'm not going to ever do that to a kid. Well, we're going to get you exposure, blah blah blah. Because if you're good enough, if you're fucking good enough, somebody's going to take notice. Okay. Yes, we can put you in front of people, and I do that all the time. But
Right.
and those people that I put you in front of, if you're good enough, they're going to find a pathway for you to live your dream. But I'm not going to sell that. What we're talking about here is the opportunity for you to play, get better, and enjoy the college experience at the end of the day. Okay. What you make of that is your business. I can't promise you anything. And anybody who does is a charlatan. But it just becomes the thing about that, in terms of, you said it, Greg, in terms of it being a big barrier. Okay. Is there are a lot of posers out there that are taking these guys to the cleaners, so you just got to be real careful where you tread with that. And guys, I'm sorry, I feel like I've taken over this thing. So,
we're still on bullet point 1 of the show, which I knew would happen when I opened it up. It's fine. Again, when we put together the run of show, I know that we're never going to get all the way through. There's always going to be something else that we can go on a tangent on. So, we all have different experiences, right? So it's fine. No, you're good.
Ryan, I want to share with the listeners how this show got started. I don't know if you do, Ryan.
I do know.
You do know? Okay.
Yeah, we've had enough conversations about that. Yeah.
I'm at the convention, the soccer convention, and Evie's in the Royce booth, and someone comes by, and next thing you know, the guy walks away, and Evie's like, "Fuck it, man. I'm pissed. I want a voice. I'm going to start a podcast. You ain't Bone?" I'm like, "Sure, whatever." Right. So I sort of laughed it off. And he goes, "I'm serious, man. I'm dead serious." I'm like, "Whatever." So a couple of months go by. "Hey, what's going on with the podcast? What's going on with the podcast?" "Oh, nothing right now. But we're going to do it, man. We are going to do it." I'm like, "Okay." A couple of months, nothing. "Hey, we still doing it?" Yeah, I'm working on it." Out of nowhere, I get a box. I don't know if you heard this, Pat. I get a box, some microphone and headphones. I knew we were on right then. We've been doing it 4 years, right, Evie?
Yeah. Well,
so you saying so Bone, you saying that in the first one, or early on, you didn't even know you were being recorded at the time, or it was candid camera kind of stuff, or what?
No, we just it took me a long time to get it going, but once we got it going, it was popular. The whole idea was, I told Bone, I said, we need to do a podcast where, when you go to the convention, after you've done whatever, you've gone into the session, right? You wind up at the bar drinking beers, telling soccer stories. That's what you do, And every year the stories are the same. The goals get better every year because you're older, but
or the saves.
Yeah, or the saves. Yeah.
This is a goalkeeper show after all. So
yeah. So that's how it started. That's how it got going. And then we branched into different areas where we have opinions on what could make the game better, and that's kind of what we're doing tonight. Is kicking it around and figuring out we're not figuring it out, but giving our opinions on what can make it better.
So, Evie, do you remember in college when I pulled the 2 saves from one upper 90 and then I had to go and save it from the other one?
That was every warm-ups, Pat, when your girlfriend was by the fence. This is a true story.
Not again. I've heard this.
We'd be warming up, right?
Bullshit.
We'd be warming up, and Pat would go, he'd look around and here'd come his girlfriend and go, Evie, give me some of the corners. Give me some of the corners. Yeah.
Oh my god.
Fucking bullshit. Because I was saving them out of the corners anyway. You didn't need to fucking.
Yeah, sure, yeah. Yeah. Give me some of the corners, Evie. So,
I mean, to be fair, Pat does have some ability to make some saves even to this day.
Oh, dude.
Did you see him, Ryan? Did you see him?
Obviously, must have.
Yeah.
Pat was. If Pat had not played goal, I believe I've said this for years. Pat was a good enough athlete that he could have played, like outside linebacker in Florida, right? And which is a football state. But he was a really, really good goalkeeper. I mean, and he could make saves that you did not expect, But like all college goalkeepers, he could give up goals that you did not expect as well.
Yeah. I had those moments, unfortunately.
Yeah, I mean, everybody does, right? And that's, again, that's something that later on in some of these other Foursquare podcasts we'll get to as far as, I mean, we've all trained goalkeepers where, I mean, my personal philosophy is you have to allow them to fail because that's how they're going to learn,
Yeah.
And, it's great to make the great saves, and we all like to do that. But you want a gym to where they're consistent. Just save the balls you're supposed to, and maybe give me one or two, that you're not supposed to, and we'll have a really good team.
Yeah, I tell my keepers, do your best job to keep us in the game.
Yeah, I mean that's all.
That's it. Like,
yeah, and that's what you train for. I think.
I would agree. It's funny. Going back to my camp EV, as far as you have, and Pat's work camps as well. When you turn your back, you better hope that instructor's teaching the right thing, right? And that's why you hire them. And at my camp, you're going to deal with a different instructor every single day. And you're going to get that instructor's opinion. You got to shake it up in what works for you best, right? Yeah. I think we all know that, as opposed to, it's got to be my way. And I think we've seen some, unfortunately, some instructors like that. And it's just a pity that they train kids like that.
Bone, it's great you say that, because to this day, when EV came in, I was pretty set technically with the Bruce Talbot mentality, blah, 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 which, I mean, there's merits, but EV said it doesn't matter, dude. All that matters is if you save the fucker. Just save it. Okay? And then that works. And so to this day, EV, I'll throw you the accolades here is I'll sit there whenever I train a keeper now, and you can ask all the kids I train now, whenever I say you need to do this is because, and I'll tell them why, right?
Give them the why. Yeah,
exactly. But in a game, if you fucking turn your ass and stick your ass and you make the save, then
not the way we wanted to do it, but it was effective.
Doesn't matter what I say. That's great. Yep, that's great.
If it didn't go in, that's a great save.
Yeah, there's no trick on that save, right, Pat?
Still counts the same way, right?
So one of my favorite sayings is quite an unusual technique, but effective. I'll say that.
Right. Yeah. I have a kid on one of my teams now. He makes these like wild saves, and you're like, how did he do that? And then he has one just go boop, like right through his hands. You're like, all right.
It's like when Miola was talking about Tim Howard, and he's like,
oh yeah,
you don't teach that shit. It's like, how did he do it?
Yeah. And that's the challenge as a goalkeeper coach, I believe, is everybody's a little bit different. So you try to bring out their strengths, and it may be, I don't know, like you just said, Pat, it may be unorthodox the way they play, but who cares, right? If it works, right? Yeah. And I always tried to get kids. I would always start it off with, hey, try this, see if this works for you. If it doesn't work for you, we'll throw it away, right? If it works for you,
hypothetical for you guys. You're gonna laugh, but it's gonna really stop and make you think. Imagine if you were Jorge Campos' trainer.
Oh shit!
What would you do? Seriously, it's
Be
like,
pissed the entire time because my heart would be like just beating the hell out of my chest.
what are you going to do with him? You know, Evie, I
He's
see
just
you
a freak, dude.
thinking deep there. It's like you got a 5'8" guy that is just a wild card. How do you coach? What do you do with that guy?
I don't know if you coach those guys or you just keep them sharp, right? Because like you say, he's an anomaly, right? And so he gets it done on his own. But there's things that I mean, you expect even a goalkeeper like that certain balls come to him, he should be able to catch them with ease and start the attack or whatever.
What he'll do is scorpion.
Yeah, yeah. And I think you have to go along with that stuff because that's what made him,
Yeah.
kind of made, I
If
always,
you bring that guy in,
yeah,
right? Like you that's what you're dealing with.
Yeah.
But I still
Yeah.
it would still freak me out.
Yeah.
Like he did some stuff. Like I've watched enough of him. Like, and then all the kids. It's really funny. The kids will be like, "Oh, I played with him on FIFA. I know who he is." And then you
Right.
show them
Right.
videos, and you're like, "Watch this dude!" Like
It's really unfortunate, Evie, that you weren't on the Kevin Hartman one because we talked about Campos for a little while.
yeah,
Maven, you remember that? Where
Sure.
it's just like that guy's obviously his mind was moving so much faster and able to just read stuff that his height was not an issue. He was just ahead of the game. In that sense. Hey, so I got a good story for you that Mark Dodd told me this weekend or this past weekend because he was at the reunion. He was in an MLS All-Star game. He was selected, and him and Campos were the keepers. And Mark, it was the arrangement was Dodder would play the first half, and Campos would play the second half. And Dodder played the first half, had a blinder, fantastic. Walked in at halftime with the shutout. During that first half, they put Campos out on the field because I'm sure you guys remember he was a good field player as well.
he played striker
So-
some. Yeah,
So, for the draw, whatever, Campos was out playing forward or something. And Campos came in at halftime and said to him, "Hey, Spanish accent. Hey, Mark, you want to stay in goal? I go up front. I play up front. You stay in goal." And Dodder said, "No, man, you're going in. I'm done." And so Campos went in the second half, gave up 4 goals. And it came up because, I told Dodder when I walked off singing The Gambler, he's like, I did that at halftime of that game. But, just what an interesting player that guy was. So when he told me that, I was like, I don't know how I would train that guy. I just don't know. It's like, I wouldn't tell him what to do. I would just become a server,
You keep them sharp, and guys like that, you ask them, what do you want to work on today? What do you want to do?
Yeah. Kind of like Alex with Berkey.
Exactly. That's exactly what I was thinking the whole time you were talking, Pat.
Yep.
Yeah.
It's like this guy's played for Switzerland in World Cup matches and shit. It's like I'm not going to tell him how to do things.
Exactly.
Yeah.
It's like, what can we do here, Roman, to, what is it you think? This is what I think, but
right. What do you want to do?
But you've been there. You've done that,
But that's also guys that's the difference between there's the difference between training club and high school kids and pros and college kids. Pros and college, you got 3 or 4 goalkeepers, right? I mean, in college, you got 3 or 4 goalkeepers. In pros, like Alex said, you got what, 2, 3, maybe 4 that you're working with. You got the youngster who's joining training session, right? So maybe you got 4. Okay. So you ask the first guy, "Hey, Roman, what do you want to work on today?" Right? And you maybe give Roman, I don't know, 15 minutes just to keep him sharp because he already knows what his routine is. He already knows what he's going to do. You're really kind of coaching 2, 3, and 4, right? In a situation like that.
Yeah.
Right.
Then
So
it makes
At
They
the
make it more
Jamaican
fun.
national team training that we went to, Greg, you remember Blake was coming back from injury then, right?
He was sitting next to the session.
Yeah. Like he literally was sitting next to us on the massage table during almost the entire session.
Yeah.
Like he went out for a couple minutes and then came back and was like, all right, I'm good. And he's another guy that I watch play and my mind is just blown. Like he keeps, Philly in games that they just shouldn't be in. There's a couple guys in MLS that kind of shock me. But he's one that I don't think gets like he does win. He's won goalkeeper of the year, so he's gotten some some accolades and but he is one of those guys you don't have. I don't think you coach him at this point.
You don't.
No, I think at that level, like Evie's saying, you are just trying to keep them sharp. I mean, if they want to work on something to get better, they'll tell you. But you're not going to develop them right at that stage. And
no,
that's what you're getting paid to do. You're not getting, keep the ball out of the net, like I think Pat said.
The higher
you
you go,
dot net.
Yeah. I think the higher you go in levels as a goalkeeper coach, the more you become like a pitching coach, right? You're talking about psyche more than physical, right? Yeah. You're just making sure everybody's happy, and the guy, your number one is on track, and you're basically doing whatever he wants to do. Now if he starts losing form, then you can sit down with him and say, hey, here's what I see. Like you were just talking about, Pat. Here's what I see. What do you think? And between the two of you, you'll come up with a plan that may involve some coaching, may involve trying some different things, but you have to be careful about that because you don't want to over correct him to the point where he's you're screwing him up.
If it ain't broke, don't fix it.
Yeah, exactly.
I'm sorry, guys. I got to go soon here, but I'm going to bring this one last topic up. So back to the college roster thing, and this affects goalkeeping significantly for the kids, Greg, Ryan.
Absolutely. Yeah, there's not more keepers on the roster.
The 28 roster spots, there's no more 4 and 5 goalkeepers on a D1 roster. It's going to be 3.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. So their spots just got, tighter and more limited. It's just a squeeze all the way around,
Yeah.
Don't know why that came into mind at that, but yeah, it's just, there you go. Because we were talking about the pros.
We're talking about numbers. Yeah. And how many trainers. Yeah.
That's it. But that's going to be the same thing in the college game.
Yeah.
D1 college game for the men, for the women too, actually. The women.
Yeah, rosters are getting a little tighter. Yeah.
Yeah.
The number of scholarships will change, and there's a lot of pieces. Like I've said it at multiple board meetings and like general membership meetings. If you are here to get your kid a college scholarship, you are here for the wrong reason.
Yes.
I will help, and I can point you in the right direction to try to help you find a way somewhere to play beyond your high school age. Like, but you are not doing it for the right reason if that's the expectation.
Go academic.
You're going to pump.
Go academic. Yeah. There's way more money.
Yeah. Well, and if you're not getting the grades, the school doesn't give a shit. If they're not interested in you, you're not getting in.
You're whistling past the graveyard, man.
Yeah, like you're just not getting in. Like, and I coach U12 boys, and I'm like, hey, if you're having trouble in school now, you need to take care of it now. If you plan on playing in the future, like you need to be able to take care of that stuff now. And if you miss practice because you have to do your studies, cool, go.
The problem with boys is only half the room's listening.
Yeah, well, it's for 15 seconds, so I have to talk quickly.
Yeah,
and then I have to say skibbity toilet at the end or something stupid that just like, But yeah, I mean, there's just a lot of people think that the only way to get to play in college is to play club. It's not necessarily the case, but it helps. But it's not going to get you the full ride that you're looking for. And I was talking about it. Yeah, I was talking about it with somebody the other day. I can't even remember, but the only sport right now that does not have some sort of club availability is football.
Mhm.
Like
So my
football
son-
is like tending to be like your high school games, right? Those matter. Like the college coaches are sending their recruiters to high school football night games on Friday night to watch. They're not sending, in most cases, like soccer coaches aren't sending a soccer coach to watch a high school game.
Nope.
So from a goalkeeping perspective, okay, and this is more on the men's side, but it's also on the women's side in terms of the NCAA, is my son worked for an institution which I will not name, okay, not good, bad, whatever. They will not give any money to a goalkeeper because there are enough goalkeepers that want to come and play here that we
Don't
don't
have
need to
to.
give them any money that will be of a quality that we need.
And how did that go?
They've done well. Their keeper's good.
Okay.
Their keeper's very good. So
And he's not getting a dime, or is
he's
it
not
just
getting-
getting academic money?
not getting any athletic money. I don't know about academic. I can't speak, but
Right.
athletically, no, not a dime.
Yeah, there's quite a few schools that do that actually.
Yeah. I mean, it doesn't surprise me that there's more of those. It's just one of those things where it's like we're looked at as, we're looked at like wooden houses. We look pretty. We can check all the boxes, but we're fucking disposable. It's kind of, obviously for us, like mind boggling what we got to do to get there and be that person for them. It's like, it's not easy. We understand the route that it's taken to get there.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's hard. It's hard
Hey,
as a coach of
Pat.
the younger guys telling them you have to be the best on the team, right? Because they're looking at it like I'm the only guy here that's putting in extra nights of work, like above and beyond the team trainings, right? They're coming to keeper training. They're getting keeper training somewhere else. They're getting additional technical work in some cases somewhere else. And you're like, you have to keep doing it.
Yeah, literally, there are so many coaches that still look at it as like you are the worst soccer player on the field. That's why you're the goalkeeper.
Yeah.
Yeah, no.
Yeah. Hey, Pat, let me ask this. Go back to what you just shared. Do you think they're missing out on? Do they feel they're missing out on some kids because they won't offer any kids any money?
No, obviously they're not. They don't feel that way because they're doing it, right?
Okay.
Um,
I mean, are they getting turned down, by kids who want to go there and they find out, hey, I'm not going to get any money, so I'm out.
yeah,
Okay. All right.
definitely,
Yeah.
Okay.
definitely.
All right.
So my kid's been at or whatever. Okay,
Right.
let's forget the timeline. I don't want to indict and put any words in Kyle's mouth, but like he's got a situation where like he's got the two top goalkeeping prospects in the country that want to come and play there. And they're willing to give the kid money. Now, here's the beauty of if the school is able to go to 20 scholarships, think about being able to fully scholarship two goalkeepers. You'll fucking kill that position. You'll have two studs vying for it because right now you got the one guy, Evie, you know this because this was my situation with you when I was there. It was like I would have to be like hungover, ACL surgery, and castrated before they would bring in the sub. It was like
Yeah,
there
no.
was such a
We'd
disparity.
have played you with one leg.
That's it.
If you showed up with an amputated leg, we'd be like, well, he only needs one shoe.
just castrated. I think I'm gonna have to leave castrated in. That's not getting edited out.
Look, I'm just trying to be Ray Hudson here, all right? But anyway, but man, that will change if you're able to scholarship two keepers. Then that just improves the level of position. And there will be institutions that do that. And then there's going to be those other institutions. Well, maybe now we can scholarship one.
Right.
But the one that's not giving any money, it's working. It's working for them.
So, Pat, go back. You shared with us that Clemson is going to have 28 scholarships, or
no, they're not going.
Okay.
According the word on the street.
Yeah.
Okay. Again, sorry, I'm like I'm the maven right now.
I know you are. I know
But,
you are.
but the word on the street is they're going to hit 20, if not higher. Okay. And like Evie said,
Well,
they
they
have
keep selling out all those football games. They got that money.
they have the nil money as well.
Yeah.
But yeah, Clemson's gonna definitely capitalize on the increase in the scholarships.
Yeah. This is interesting. Ryan, look this up, by the way. Look at Clemson's roster. So this
Women's
goes
or
back to
men?
the recruit men's right now. Yeah.
Okay.
There's a guy from Nevada who I met when I was in Charleston last December for the National All-American High School game that Soccer Village was part of as a sponsor. And I met this guy, and I think his name is Victor. All right, Ryan.
Okay.
I don't think the guy, and he was like Gatorade Player of the Year.
Yeah.
Played on the U.S. futsal team. I mean, right? He had all these, obviously great awards. And Ryan, I'm sure, will recite them. He hasn't played 1 minute.
I'm
One
going to throw
minute.
this out there.
Now, I don't think
see
he's
him
hurt.
on the
I don't know if
roster.
he's hurt or not. But my point is, and it goes back to what you and I were discussing, you better look what you're getting into. Now, he likes Clemson. He likes Coach Noonan. He probably knows what he's getting into. But it just shows you, we talk about the parents don't know what is reality. Here's reality, right? This is a guy with all these, accolades, and he's still not getting on the field.
Yeah. Greg, I always tell people, again, this is something for your girls. You may be way ahead of me, but it's like, you're interested in such and such, look at the roster.
Yeah.
Is that look at the current roster. Do you see yourself coming in there as a true freshman? And I always use I use this. It's like you're 5'8" and you look at the roster, and everybody on the roster, there's 32 players, and they're all over 6 foot. You think that coach is going to want you to come and play for them? Yes, it's an extreme example, but you understand exactly what I'm saying, because you're saying you want to go play at Clemson, but you're an 18-year-old kid from Virginia that plays in the ECNL, and you're probably the third or fourth best player on your team. Are you seriously thinking you're going to go play at Clemson? Right? Even if you're the best player.
Yeah, right.
How many American kids that are 18 years old do you see playing at Clemson right now?
Great point.
So I always say, look at the roster. I got a lot of experience because of Exact Sports in the summer.
Right.
I go out and I educate these kids. And again, I'm either an asshole or it's like, thank God for that guy. He sent me
No,
straight.
I think you're doing a great job. I mean, I think people forget, Pat, Exact has a great reputation. There's about, correct me if I'm wrong, 50 college coaches at these camps.
Yeah.
That's 100 eyes on you.
Yeah.
Division 1, 2, 3. Yeah, there might be a lot of assistants there, but in a lot of cases, those assistants are in charge of recruiting. I'm not saying they're making the final decision, as we all know, but they are handing, information on or passing it to the head coach saying, hey, we need to look at this kid.
I mean, at the
Pat, hang on. And so I think, and there are so many locations. So in the past, it was only, maybe Illinois and Georgia. Now, I mean, I just looked on their website today. I mean, there's Cleveland, there's Cincinnati, there's Indianapolis, Columbus. I mean, a kid should be able to attend these camps. So go ahead, Pat. I'm not trying to plug Exact, but I do feel it is, my clients are part of that group, and they speak very highly of it as well. So maybe you could add something different that I'm not, for everyone who's, listening here or watching.
No, what you said, it gives them the opportunity to play in front of 100 eyeballs, right? And if you're good enough and you show well, you will get some type of, bite or just interest. Hopefully it's a school that fits your mold, I should say. Now the camps you're looking at, Greg, just to be clear, those are smaller. Those are 1-day camps, and there's usually 8 to 10 coaches there. So still, it's a great opportunity. And then you know how college coaches talk. It's like, listen, I love this kid, but she didn't really, I've got 3 number 6s this year, but if you're looking for 6, you need to talk to this kid type of thing. So, it's just they do a service. They definitely do a service.
Yeah.
Greg, were you talking about Vitor?
Yes.
Okay, so he's from Kansas.
I was wrong. Wichita.
That's okay.
Thank you.
But I had that's why I was like, all right, I'm trying to track this down. Where are we at?
Yeah. Great kid. Great family.
Vitor Gremmel.
Yeah.
Is that how you say his last name?
Yeah.
Wichita, Kansas. Yeah, he is at Clemson currently. Stats, nada. Like you click on the stats link and this is literally, I will share it just so you
And you're talking about probably one of the top 25 American players coming out of high school in 2024.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
And he hasn't played a minute.
No.
Because he went to Clemson.
Yeah, he probably could have had his choice of pretty much everywhere.
Yeah. Hey Ryan, why don't you put up his bio though?
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
2024 Gatorade Kansas State Player of the Year, USA Today National Player of the Year. Played for May South High School. 2021 KSHSAA State Champion. They went undefeated, 21-0. Team captain, United Soccer Coaches All-American, United Soccer Coaches Kansas Player of the Year, ODP National Team, U.S. Youth Futsal National Team, 3-star recruit.
Oh, you know what? I've heard. I got a story. You know what Noonan told this kid? I remember this.
Oh,
okay. He said, Vitor, you are not in Kansas anymore.
Oh shit. Damn it.
You can open up for me, Pat. You can open up.
Thanks, Dorothy.
Oh my God. There's no place like home, Pat. No place like home.
Gentlemen, I got to bring this to an end.
No, I agree.
No, it's good. We've been going for a while. We're well over the hour, but we still didn't talk about any of the other topics that were supposed to be on the show tonight. So, we'll save some of them.
Show,
yeah, it was a good show, but we'll definitely save some of them for later. We're looking forward to talking about additional goalkeepers that maybe we haven't had on the show. So goalkeeper spotlight, something new we're going to be bringing in. Some goalkeeping technique and tips. Big MLS and USL matches that are coming up throughout the week. We'll do some little one-off videos this week for some of those. There's some big ones coming up. So we'll be hitting some of that. And then one topic that I do want to do eventually, and it'll probably be a very, very long show, which was on the list for tonight, and it should just have its own show, really. But dinner with the greats, picking 4 people, either living or deceased, that you would want to have over for dinner for any reason, but anything we could do soccer wise would be kind of cool too. But that's one that I'm really looking forward to talking about with you guys, because I know you're going to have some great names that'll come up on that list. Like something tells me that Bobby Orr's going to be on EV's list just for the sake, it's back behind his head there. That guy's got to be on the.
Actually, I heard he was a vegetarian, so I couldn't. I'm just kidding.
But we have a lot of show ideas that we're going to be heading your way, and the guys have been great about like trying some new stuff. So hopefully everybody that's watching and listening, you're enjoying the content and you're really having a good time with it like we are. So always feel free to comment on our videos on YouTube. Make sure you're sending any comments over on Spotify as well, because we opened our comments on Spotify so people can chime in there and tell us what you like about the show, what you don't like about the show. That's okay too. We take constructive criticism very well. It's a good time for EV to use some more profanity when he reads somebody's post that he doesn't agree with. So
has he done that? Has he done that?
Cursed? I mean, come on.
No, I'm saying comments. Have you gotten any comments?
Oh, we've gotten a few comments. Yeah, we've gotten some comments. We got a comment on the Tony Miola episode that came out last week. Let me see if I can track.
Yeah, you
down
might want to give an update for EV and Pat because they don't follow it like you.
Yeah. So,
Yeah. You guys are like, oh no, we got two more.
Well-
Oh, two more.
Well, yeah,
Evie's
because like,
Addicting. This one's addicting. I will say that.
Evie's favorite saying was, "Of course, you silly cunt." That was his favorite saying.
yeah, like we've really hit like it's funny because we watch those numbers because we want to see if people are really enjoying what we're putting out there, right? Like you have to go back and kind of think like you used to joke, Evie, that we only had 14 listeners.
Right.
Well, as of today on YouTube alone, the Miola episode that's been out for 5 days now has 73 views already.
All right.
Yeah.
And it like, he's a big name, big draw, but like to have that many views, he's already pushing into our top episodes lists with those numbers. And then, I'm trying to pull up the audio on Spotify just to see what the number is there. But every time I go to the Spotify page right now, the number just rolls higher and higher.
I know that's so cool to watch. I will say that.
Which is very cool. We're at 25 audio plays on Spotify.
But 73.
But yeah, we're over we're about to hit 100, which is great.
Yeah.
In a 5-day span. So
who's our leader in the clubhouse as far as most listened to?
Robbie Church.
Robbie Church.
Still.
Yeah,
Not
Robbie
even
Church
close.
will be hard to catch.
Not even close,
Yeah.
in my opinion.
Yeah. By the way, I don't know if we said this, but he's retiring this year.
Yeah.
We're gonna get him on the show.
Yeah.
Yeah, we're definitely interested in having him back on. But yeah, he's by far the top number of plays.
So listen, I just want to make sure that when Aiden Heaney came on, he didn't boost the ratings for us like he said he would.
Well, let's see.
Classic. When he came on, yeah, Pat said I needed to come on.
Yeah.
I did not send that to his AD yet.
Yeah. So it's Robbie Church is number one at 181.
Yep.
Michelle Akers at 169.
Thanks, Fruity.
Hank Part 1, 168. Bushy the first time for 161, and then the one that Greg always just is shocked by. Who is it, Greg?
EV. Can you hear
Charlie
this?
Dumpy.
No. Scott Schaefer. Scott
Yep.
Schaefer.
Scotty Shaper?
Scotty Shaper,
No way.
164.
Wow.
Four.
Yeah.
I said, Scott, what happened? Did you just have everybody in your family or was it all your son's friends at school?
Yeah. They just sent it out to all the guys at St. X. And
I got to make an announcement here, Ryan. So let's give it up. Pat, YouTube he's joined the 100 Club. He's at 107.
Yeah.
All right.
107.
Well,
Big
if you
time.
do 8 shows, you're going to make it eventually.
Hey,
Yeah.
you're ahead of Rongren, who just hit 100, but you're below Sarah Loudon at 115.
Well.
I mean,
Pat, I think all your kids should be listening to this show, by the way.
I'm starting to spread it out. I did.
Well, you got to be careful. It's got to be the older ones, right? Because we were dropping the bomb.
I send it out on Instagram.
Yeah.
The old one and stuff. So I'm going to start piggybacking, collaborating, whatever the terminology is, with White Glove. So anyway, guys, I'm out of here. Okay.
All right, guys.
We'll catch you all next time. Thanks, guys.
Sounds good.
Yeah.
Good
night.
Thanks, Pat.
Peace out.
Have fun.
Thank you for watching and listening to the 3 Old Goalies podcast. Be sure to subscribe on your favorite podcast platform, follow us on social media, and if you can, give us a 5-star review. Can't get enough? Check us out online at 3oldgoalies.com. See you next time.